Hello, this is episode 220 of Nuggets Dungeon Terrain. I'm putting out this episode to coincide with the ending of the Hunter-Gatherer Kickstarter campaign. If you're interested in taking a look, there'll be a link in the description down below. This video is in two parts. First, I'm going to talk about some of the strategies you should consider when you're making a map tile, and then I'm going to create my latest post-apocalyptic map tile that I'm going to use in Hunter-Gatherer. There's nothing wrong with just building a blank tile, maybe one that you're going to dress up with terrain, but if you're setting up a tile for a dungeon crawler, each of them should have two things. One, a disadvantage to the players, and two, some kind of advantage that they could seek out. This tile, for example, works in Hunter-Gatherer because it gives you an opportunity to separate yourselves from the zombies. On the other hand, it's an obstacle that could easily separate the players, make it harder for them to protect each other, and even more importantly, to heal each other. In a handful of missions, enemies like zombie rats or zombie dogs would also have a chance to move underneath this barrier. This tile has an obvious advantage. You can separate yourselves from the enemy using a sinkhole. Some of the characters also have skills that help them to push models into the sinkhole, killing them immediately. The disadvantage, of course, is that the party needs to travel in a single file formation, and there's a chance they might fall into the hole as well. In Hunter-Gatherer, this pipe acts as an ambush point. That means that the enemy can appear suddenly on the tile itself, catching the party off guard because they might be in a single file formation. The advantage is that the heroes can jump up on top of the pipe and use that as a height advantage. Let's take a look at one more before we move on to the build. This is a T-junction, and in a dungeon crawler that means splitting your map cards into two sections. In Hunter-Gatherer, because every exit becomes a new potential spawning point for zombies, this also increases your chances of being surrounded or having zombies spawn in a direction that you hadn't planned on. The advantage is that ruined flatbed in the back. This gives the players a chance to gain high ground. High ground that will mean the zombies have less chance of hitting them, and they have a better chance of taking them out. This one's going to be another corner piece. The corner won't be easy to navigate though. Once this part of a truck is stuck into place, the players are going to have to make a choice. One could be to take the long way around and not suffer any movement penalties, and the other could be to take the shortcut. Being inside of that truck area will mean that the player has some kind of protection. It also means that they would be separate in a way from the other players who are not in that space. If we jump to the 80% complete point, you can see that I've placed some rubble at the front of the truck. The point of it is that players can no longer immediately cross that corner. Even if they are taking the shortcut, they require more than one turn to move the whole distance. Here I'm applying some crushed up chalk pastel to the boundary of the truck. I figured that if it's been rusting over time, it would kind of stain the ground and drop most of the rust directly below it. I then use this lighter brown to indicate the track most likely worn. I also decided to add some grey to some of these concrete cracks to make it look like it was breaking down. So here's a couple of quick looks at the finished piece, but then I'm going to follow that up with some examples of gameplay and what I'm talking about with strategy. So what you can see here is that the players are coming upon this new tile. As they enter, they have a choice to go around the long way or jump into the back of the truck, like the orange player has here. That seems to work fine while they're surrounded by these standard zombies. The orange player can try and pick off the ones up the front and support the others on the other side. They're pretty safe, so they might become the healer. This perceived safety changes dramatically when, from that furthest entry point, an extra large mutant zombie appears. This one isn't hampered by the height of the barrier and is going to deal a lot of damage on that orange player. It's going to be a little bit harder for the other players to help out dealing damage, and they might end up resorting to trying to keep that orange player alive. Thanks for watching. If you're really into making these post-apocalyptic style tiles, Hunter-Gatherer might be just the game for you. It's a miniature and terrain agnostic game. To play it, I just used some of my extra miniatures from Zombicide, and as you can see, I build my own tiles. If you're interested in picking up a copy of the game, check out the link below.